Welcome all to another episode of Woodworking is Bullshit, your favorite podcast that takes a hard look at many of the mental, emotional, creative, and philosophical issues that we all think about as makers and creatives. How's that, Eric? You like that?
That's pretty fucking good, dog. That was a pretty good all-around summary of what we're trying to do here.
I'm your host, Paul Jasper, scientist by day, woodworker by night, and I'm joined, of course, the chair across from me, Eric Curtis, furniture maker and content creator, as well as our original third musketeer is here again. Don't want to spoil everyone. Mary Tisai.
Ton of surprise there.
UX designer by day, contemporary furniture heiress by night.
Heiress?
I forgot about the heiress.
And with us on today's show is a guest, let's say an artist, a studio artist, a sculptor, and more recently, a YouTube content creator, Michael Alm. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
What's poppin', buddy?
Here. Well, just hanging out, making YouTube videos.
All day today, yeah?
All day today, yep.
So, Michael, they say if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So my question to you is, how did a serious ass art school, artist, gallery, studio artist pivot to become a YouTube content creator?
That's a long story, Paul.
Well, let's start at the beginning.
So I was a studio artist, practicing for 10 years, doing, like you said, sculpture. I studied sculpture. For a long time, when I introduced people, or I introduced myself to people, like, what do you do? I would say I'm a sculptor, which is always opens up for a lot of questions.
Yeah, that's always an interesting one. How did people react when you said sculptor?
It's a long pause and then a lot of questions. Because nobody introduces themselves that way.
No,
but I'm like,
I've never.
When at a party is somebody like, I'm a sculptor. Like,
Never.
people are like, I'm an artist. I'm painter maybe. But I was really proud of that. Like, I went and I studied sculpture. I've always been into 3D art, kind of above all else. So it was a badge of honor and point of pride to say that. But nowadays,
Michael,
yeah.
So why sculpture? It's just because you had this aptitude towards 3D design? That's why you started there?
Yeah, I really, just in art school, I just gravitated towards it. It was not, I went in thinking I'd be a painter, printmaker, 2D designer, something like that. But every time I was in some sort of sculpture class, people were like, you gotta keep this up.
It just made sense to you.
What kind of sculpture was it?
I did a lot of steel sculpture in college.
Oh,
so
that's sick.
I did a lot of welding and stuff.
This man can do anything.
That's so cool.
I took it. So the cool thing about being in sculpture school is that you do have access to all the tools, and you also have experts that can teach you on all the tools. So I loved doing woodwork, but I also was like, I can buy woodworking equipment, but some of this stuff I might never see again. So I did ceramics, I did glass blowing, I tried it all. I was doing big installation work, but the steel was just too much fun, and they were supplying the material. I mean, I was paying for it, but they were supplying the materials and all the knowledge. So it's like, if I'm going to learn to weld, I'm going to learn to weld here.
Hell yeah.
And
Smart.
So, yeah, it was a blast. I mean, every day we were in this old high school. It was or it might have been an old middle school, like a 1920s middle school that was built around a courtyard, and the center courtyard was where all the sculpture kids hung out. And we were like the dirtiest, rattiest kids in the college. My college is
sculpture kids.
Yeah. Oh, they're so, I mean, myself included. I was just covered in steel dust. Like, my face was like black for most of it.
Look like some coal miner children.
Totally. Oh, it was so fun. And it was all the weirdos too. Like the sculpture kids at the time, performance art was part of sculpture because they didn't really have a good spot for them.
Because they didn't know what else to do with them.
So yeah, because like I don't really know. Like, and then video was kind of in with the sculpture too. So there were it was like a weird, like, we'll just put them here.
It's the others.
Wow,
Yeah.
so you got the
Michael.
theater kids.
Yeah.
Michael, at that point, were you good at sculpture? Did you feel like, yes, I'm going to be able to make a living at this? Like,
Well, those are two different questions.
But let's answer both. Like, how did you feel about your development as a sculptor, and what were your professors telling you? What kind of feedback were you getting? And then, similarly, what were you thinking about your career at the time?
Those are very good questions. On the confidence front, I've always been just irrationally confident with like material stuff.
That's the way to go.
Attaboy.
I'll watch somebody and I'm like, oh, I could do that. I could totally do it. Get me in there. It doesn't always pan out, like the results. Like I look at my welds and I look at my steel sculpture and I see something that like Jimmy's made or Laura Kampf has made or something like that. I'm like, oh, okay. I thought I was good, but you see somebody doing something really beautiful and you're like, okay. But the other half of your question was career wise. Was my sculpture good at the time? I liked it, but obviously it's grown a lot. I was just having fun. I was making whatever I thought was cool. And they were giving me all the ability to do it. And then career wise, I was sort of looking at that. I don't know. I was always like, my dad always told me you can always make money as a welder. So in my head, I was like, worst comes to worst, I end up in a metal shop for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, I end up in a wood shop for a couple of years. Like there's way worse things to do. Just didn't want to end up in an office. And I had a lot of friends in the graphic design department who were being groomed to be in an office environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were being taught typography. They were being taught like all sorts of graphic design skills, but they were also sitting in cubicles with iMacs and they had assignments in a very similar way that you would get assignment from like, a corporate job.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
murder me
you guys
now.
yeah, I know, you're in the art school. Like have fun. So
Come hang out in the courtyard with us dirty kids.
They were in the same building, just the next story up. So they were the clean kids,
so they could
and
look
we were in
down
the
on
dark.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they could. They could look outside and be like, "Oh, Michael looks filthy today."
What was the market like for sculpture at that time? Like, were there careers or jobs?
Yeah. What year was this, by the way?
This was 2000. I graduated 2006, so I started 2002.
Okay.
And yeah, it was. I don't know if there was a market for sculpture. There's still not really a market for sculpture.
Mm-hmm.
There's never a market for sculpture because sculpture. We're going to get into this with the career change. Sculpture takes up space and is not useful. I mean, it's like inspiring, and but most people struggle with a place for sculpture in their home. Like they literally have to dedicate a spot for it. So that's the hardest thing about that career path. And so I was
Michael,
looking at other.
Just for a moment. I never considered that. Not one moment have I considered that that's something that comes along with sculpture being a difficult sell.
Oh, yeah. You'll talk to any sculptor. They'll be like, I just can't, I can't find people who have space for it. A painter, a photographer, it's really easy to find a spot on somebody's wall.
Sure.
But sculpture takes up space, but furniture is functional and solves a problem.
That's what's interesting to me is I came at the same problem from the opposite standpoint. Like once I realized that I wanted to make objects that expressed a thing or had some beauty or had a stance or something like that, I started thinking about myself as a sculptor, but I could never make sculpture because of its lack of function. Like there's nothing, because you get done with the piece and then you go, well, where the hell does this live? Like, what do I do with it now? I don't have space for it. My house is like half the size of Paul's, like I got nothing. It's an apartment basically.
Yeah.
So where does this thing live? Where does it go?
Where does your womanly bust live? Don't you have a piece of
Isn't it
sculpture?
like a side table?
I did. It's basically a side table. Like I almost put a top on it too because I wanted to turn it into a table. It's tucked into an alcove that wouldn't exist if my house wasn't weird and 150 something years old. You stuff it in corners. Anyway.
All right. So Michael, you decided that this was a good, like, I'm going to give this a shake. Yeah. Being a sculptor, like a professional artist sculptor. Tell me what that was like.
I'm very confident in art school. Okay, so this story is pretty wild. My favorite part of it is that where to start? So my ex-girlfriend from high school, I hung out with her dad right before graduation. He's like, "So you studied sculpture, Michael? That's an interesting choice." And I'm like, and he was
good
like,
way to impress a girlfriend's dad.
Yeah. And he was like, "So what are you going to do with that degree?" And I was like, I'm going to sculpt. And I don't think he knew what to do with that answer. And he's like, okay. So where I got started was I started looking at other, like I was saying, you can always get a job as a welder. I started looking at spaces that would hire a sculptor or would need somebody who I'm a firm believer when you want a career path, you need to inject yourself into that space in some capacity, not at the top. You can't just start at the top, but if you start in a lower rung or you're around those people that you want to be, you're gonna have the best chance of achieving that. So I started asking around and I picked a city. I literally just picked a city on a map. I was living in St. Louis. My college was in St. Louis. And I was like, I think that I don't want to move to New York because New York, I'll just fade away in New York. There's too many good, talented people there. I was looking at San Francisco, thought San Francisco was really cool. And then I sort of had a hunch that Seattle might be cool because I met a couple people from there. I knew some people in Portland. I thought about Portland too. Anyway, the mountains got me. I was like, Seattle, really close to the mountains. Man. It's gorgeous out here. And it's just like, it was the right choice. And so I was like, okay, so who are sculptors in Seattle? At the time, the hottest sculptor in Seattle was Dale Chihuly. And like the most known, it's just like Dale Chihuly, glass sculptor, makes glass chandeliers, all this crazy stuff. And I was like, okay, that's something. And then I looked on Craigslist for sculpture applications for sculptors, welders, all that stuff. And carpenters, I think I looked into that too. And there was one thing that said we need a shop manager for a sculpture space. And I was like, I don't think I can do that, but I'll just reach out and meet them.
You can pretend like you can do it though.
I could pretend like I could do it. So I saw that. I reached out. At the time we were using travel agents because it's 2006. My parents had a travel agent and they were like, you need to fly out to Seattle. Like just do a trip out to Seattle before you make this choice to move to a city you've literally never been to. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. And so I planned a trip by myself, 22 years old. And I was like, I'm going to go out to Seattle. I'm going to meet this person, talk to them about what it's like to be a sculptor. And I'll try and put my name out there and find some other stuff. So talk to the travel agent and get this. Travel agent's wife works directly with Dale Chihuly's business partner.
No shit.
Oh, wow.
In conversation, we're like, hey, I'm looking to be a sculptor in Seattle.
Holy
blah, 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 blah. And travel agent's wife worked with the daughter of Dale Chihuly's long-term business partner. And he's like, I'll just put you in touch. You guys go have dinner. With not Dale Chihuly, with the wife's friend who works
the business
in
partner.
Seattle, business partner. And so I went and had the only thing I had scheduled was that meeting and that so I flew out and got a hotel in a terrible part of town. Had no idea. She was like, I'm gonna pick you up and you should find a different hotel. So she picked me up, drove me to her place, beautiful place in Upper Queen Anne. If you're thinking about Fraser, the view from Fraser's building is where their house was.
Oh, Jesus.
And I had dinner with these people, and then her dad, who's Dale Chihuly's business partner, had just flown back from China. They were doing a show in Hong Kong, and he just flew back. And he came in super grumpy, totally jet lagged, sat down, had dinner, maybe said 4 words to me, and then went up and went to bed. And then Elise called me the next day, and she's like, "Hey, my dad likes you. Would you be interested in interviewing?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" So anyway, I got a job.
With Chihuly Glass?
Yeah, I interviewed 3 times during that trip, and they were looking for a person to be in mock-up, which is the install of the chandeliers, not glass blowing, but manually building the chandeliers.
Holy shit, Michael! for those
fucker
wait,
can do anything.
Just a moment. For those who don't know Dale Chihuly, right? I mean, it's one of the few sculptors I know because it's so mind blowing. The MFA in Boston, I think, has a 80 foot piece of his that goes from like the floor to like 3 stories up. And it's like these tendrils of colored glass coming out in every direction. They are mind bendingly creative, right? The color, the form, the size, the scale. So, I mean, for those that don't know, for any listener who doesn't know Chihuly Glass, you should probably Google it. You'll be happy you did. Anyway, please
makes
continue,
one hell
Michael.
of a hot sauce too.
Wait, can I ask one question? Did you ever break any pieces?
That's the number one question we get, and yes, yeah, I think all of us do break. But usually it's like the tips off of what you're describing, Paul, is the chandelier parts are long blown pieces of glass, and they have really delicate tips on the end. That's like you call them tendrils. So those like sparkle in the light and everything like that, but they also knock into each other while you're assembling them. So a lot of times you'll chip a tip off, but that's like one little element in a massive build. So we would send out extra parts. The shipping is its own massive story about how they ship those parts across the world. They have a whole shipping department, and it's fascinating. Basically like egg crates where they separate everything into these dividers, and it's amazing that it works at all. But typically we don't break the really expensive stuff, which is the C forms, where they're like sets that are blown together and made to like integrate with each other, and they have specific ways that they go together. So if you break one of those parts, it's bad news. I never broke one of those. I only broke chandelier parts while I was there. So yeah.
Michael, how long did you work for them, and how was it, and what made you leave to the next chapter of your career?
I got fired.
That'll do it.
I worked there for 1.5 years, Paul, and I loved and hated it. It was spectacular, and it was intense, and it was some of the biggest egos, both on the client side and internally, that I've ever interacted with. And I had no foundation as a 22-year-old of what a normal work environment should be.
Yeah, how to navigate that is hard, man.
And it was not. And I didn't know what I didn't know where I stood in the pecking order. My confidence in my 20s got the best of me in certain ways, and then shifting politics inside of the whole organization sort of pitted one team of people against another, and I was on the losing team. So it was I don't want to talk trash about it because the experience was so formative for me and so spectacularly full of opportunity and excitement and crazy stuff that it's like exactly what I was looking for. But if they didn't fire me, I would have burnt out. I spent a year and a half traveling 2 weeks out of every month and pretty much not meeting anybody in the city of Seattle because I was new to the city. I knew nobody in Seattle. I didn't meet another artist in that year and a half. My career didn't grow at all in the sense of like what I wanted, which was to be a studio artist. And so that was it was amazing, and it was insane. It was absolutely insane.
Well, that's really, I think, important insight to anybody listening who is kind of at that phase where maybe they've gone to school or they've been a serious hobbyist for a while and they're thinking like, I want to transition, I want a career pivot into woodworking. I want to find somebody who's really good, somebody I look up to, somebody who's successful and work under them. Sometimes that's a really difficult and unhealthy work environment because those egos are fucking massive. And it's not just in the art world, it's in the woodworking world too. Like there are people who will take advantage of you, and there are people who will grind you down so that you think that you are only successful in this field because you work for them. And then you have to spend like the double side of that coin is you learn a lot from those people because they're clearly very good at what they do. But then you spend a lot of years kind of recuperating from that relationship and that experience.
Absolutely. I had like, there are certain things that for about 10 years, I would like set me off from working there, which is wild. And, I held grudges for a little while of certain people that treated me like, in hindsight, like thinking back, I'm like, oh, that was a really awful thing to say to a 22-year-old art installer. But, ultimately it was
name them right now.
No. Honestly, when you're in the big leagues, like anything can happen. There's no protection. You're in the big leagues now.
Yeah.
Right. The stage is huge. The money's even huger. You're being fed to the wolves, and you asked for it. So it's like,
one of those. Yeah. I mean, I was hanging $1 million pieces of sculptures in people's private homes above their stairwell with scaffolding up, and their art collections were insane. I mean, the things that I saw, the homes that I saw alone were just jaw-dropping.
Wow.
I do have to say what you said earlier, that I was in my early 20s and my confidence got the best of me, is something that I'm going to steal, because that's the most polite way to say that I was an arrogant prick as a 22-year-old. And I fucking love that. Because also same, like,
Yeah.
So Michael, how did you, and for those who haven't figured out today's episode, we decided not to lead with a question, but to lead with Michael's intro. For those who haven't figured it out, today's episode is about pivoting, like career choices, a career path, and what are the signs that maybe that's not going to work the way I thought it was, or what are the signs that you're reading? What should you pivot to? What are we reading? And using Michael's example as a case study, in essence. So, Michael, where did you go after that?
That was really interesting. So I got fired. I went to my favorite bar that my cat is named after, the Sloop Tavern. And I took all of my business cards that had been freshly printed and threw them out on the bar table.
Direction there, huh?
And we just shredded them and drank a lot and,
okay, all right.
And then I had 3 other colleagues that had been fired within either before or after me. I can't remember quite. I know some were before, some were after. Got fired on my team that were just like, they were just clearing people out, and it was awful. And we sat together and we all realized that we were like really happy. And like, wait a second, all of this weight, all of this drama, all this stuff that like all this infighting between people was gone. And then these precious clients that were so, some of them were great, some of them were challenging. Those were also gone. And we were like, oh, okay, so we can, and I had spent a year and a half not spending a dime because I was on a per diem every time I traveled, and
Hell yeah.
I was making okay money. I mean, pretty decent for a fresh sculptor from, I don't know, whatever. I was doing fine. Like, it was enough to live off of and save. And so I did the math, and I was like, I think I have a year of runway. I think I could live real cheap. I was paying $437.50 a month for my apartment.
Sorry?
$437.
No, I heard what you said. I just can't remember a time ever in which a living expenditure was that low.
Eric, when I shared a
you
house
graduated
in grad
college
school
in 1972, so shut the fuck up.
We paid $300 each, bitch. Continue, Michael, please.
I was living in a pretty crappy place, but it was great, and in a lot of ways. So I decided to rent my first studio space, which was 100 square feet for $300 a month. Maybe it was 200 square feet for $300 a month. It was $300 a month. It was a small space, but it was in like an artist community, shared shop, kind of like yours, Eric, but a lot smaller.
And what was your primary medium at that point?
I didn't know. It's a really good question.
Okay.
I was figuring things out. I was like, I didn't have any tools. So
sure.
What do? That was that thing. I was like having so much fun in art school, and then they take all the tools away.
Yeah, and then you get into the real world and you go, shit.
Yep. So I ended up, I did some work with like drawing and spray painting and ink. It was like mixed media. It was like a lot of stuff I was finding at Goodwill. I was like cutting up, fabric from Goodwill and glue in it. I was like, you could tell I was like desperately trying to make something.
Michael, what were you thinking? What was the plan, man? Like, that's so
there's no plan.
Scary.
When you're that young,
just chaotic do. That's all there is.
Really? Yeah. There was no plan?
There was a year. I had a year of runway where I was gonna become an artist. I was gonna get a studio. I was gonna live cheap, and it was a wacky year. It was so wild. It was so fun.
What year is this now?
This would have been it's I know what year it is because it was 2007 leading into 2008.
Oh, great year to be self-employed.
Great year to be self-employed and then looking for a job on the backside of it.
Okay, so you go through that year. What happens when the recession hits? Like how do things pivot?
They pivot quickly. I ran out of money before a year, I'll tell you that much. And it got real scary for a couple months there, where I was like, do I get rid of the studio? No, the studio is everything that I like. Like, I would rather get rid of my apartment than my studio. And I was collecting tools off of Craigslist at the time. And I'd met a bunch of artists because I had a year. So I just went to every art show I could.
Hell yeah.
I was sleeping very weird. I was, because parking was free after 5 downtown or after 7 or something like that. I would go to the studio at that time, and then I would stay up all night, and I would make work until about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And on a couple occasions, I was stopped by the cops thinking that I was breaking into my own car.
Really?
Oh my God.
It was downtown Seattle.
Yeah.
And it hadn't quite gone through its resurgence yet. And so it was pretty funky. I was watching. Yeah, I was just like, it was good. It was unhealthy in a lot of ways because I wasn't very regimented. I didn't have a schedule. I was like, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to go over here. Like, it's a big difference between me now and back then.
So I remember my first year running the business when I was straight out of school, and it failed miserably. I got maybe about 18 months. And the thing, like you just kind of hit on it, the thing I think I struggled with the most was any kind of direction and regimented schedule and like, why am I doing this? I would just make shit and think like, well, if it's there, then I can bring it to a show, I can sell it. And what I found is eventually that just wore on me a lot. Like, it became emotionally very heavy just to like do a thing and not know if I was going to be able to pay for the thing when it was done.
Yeah.
Did you feel that same kind of experience in that year when you were trying to just like figure it out, or was it just
Oh,
You were just
absolutely.
building a portfolio or what?
No, I was so lost. Like looking back at it, I was like, if I was to like plan a year, like I didn't know to plan it out. I was like, I just was like, oh, if I'm given a year, that's plenty of time to like make things happen, make connections, and build a resume, build something. And it was just really chaotic. I made some
Did
cool
you?
stuff, but
Yeah, I
it
was going to
wasn't.
ask. Did you build something? Did you
Oh,
make
I
things
made.
that?
Yeah, I did a whole series of drawings of chickens. I remember that where I
Hmm.
like hand tore out of paper that I'd spray painted all the feathers in them and glued them
Oh, that's
on by
so
hand.
cool.
So
That's
they
a
were
lot of
like,
art school shit right there. I never
yeah,
would have thought to do that.
it was like 2D and 3D, and I built the
Yeah.
frames myself, and which is fine. And then I started getting into faux taxidermy. I did like sort of glued faux fur uh, onto like I was making my own mannequins, taxidermy mannequins. So I was doing like super sculpey, baked in an oven with like wire frames and armatures, and then gluing fur onto them with taxidermy
Holy
eyes and stuff.
shit!
Yeah, it was a wild.
That is wild. So
So
the the period between, what did you say this was, 2007, 2008?
Yeah.
The period, let's fast forward a little bit.
Okay.
Between that year and the year that you started YouTube, what
Oh
was
wow.
what was the arc? Like, what year did you start YouTube?
I started YouTube 2017.
2017. So we got 10 years.
10 years. Yeah.
Are you self-employed this whole time? Are you bouncing around
Yeah,
from
what'd
job
you do to pay the
job?
bills?
Are you exploring different media? Are you in cabinet shops? What?
I
So
know you made those 6 sculptures, animal sculptures, at one
somewhere
point.
in there. Yeah, thanks. So I was bouncing around jobs. I was able to get a job out of 2008 during 2008 or maybe early 2009. I got a job doing art handling, art moving, which is a job that a lot of artists end up getting because they have flexible hours, and there are these independent agencies that move art around. So they know how to package, ship, crate. They know how to hang artwork really quickly. They know how to do like a full salon style hang. And so $12 an hour, I got that job, and I was moving $1 million pieces of artwork. And I was
Wow.
like, this
Jesus.
is wacky. And it was a good job because it trained me. So from there, I went to museums. From museums, I went to a private company that made custom frames. I think I've told you about that. That's where I learned wood carving and some other really crazy art forms like water gilding, like gold leaf and stuff. And I was always looking for like a little side hustle, but I've never had a full-time job except for Chihuly.
So it was always part-time jobs supplemented with your own work and trying to build a portfolio and trying to sell to clients.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
and
you
then I was
did you
showing
get
art.
any traction? Did you get any traction in galleries and selling your work? Like, how was that going?
Yeah, I mean, I was better at getting galleries to show my work than I was at selling the work.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's it's a challenging spot to be in when you're making cool stuff, but galleries don't really tell you how much to sell your stuff for. Some do, but most don't, and most galleries take 50 to 60%. Some
Right.
take 40 if you're lucky. So when you're doing the math on what to sell and for how much, you have to basically double what you need. And that makes your stuff expensive pretty quick. And if you don't find the right pocket, the right collectors, it's really hard to sustain yourself. And, your collectors only have so much space. We go back to the problem with sculptures. So if you find a collector, they buy 3 pieces, they're like, that's all the space I have for your sculptures, Michael. I had a couple people that bought more than one, but it was mostly like one-offs.
So, Michael, my understanding is, and tell me if this is wrong, is the art world has like an in crowd and then like everyone else. And like the in crowd has all the connections. They know all the people. We're insiders. We know everyone. Oh, so and so at the gallery told me I could do this. And like they're all fucking connected through these like hoity toity galleries and art schools. And like I've seen papers on the issue, like scientific papers have shown that if you study it like almost like a network analysis, that people in the network tend to do much better than people out of the network. First of all, from your perspective, does that exist real world? And were you on the in or the out?
There's a lot to unpack there, but I think maybe like I'm not in the New York art scene, and I do think there's some of that too. There's definitely like collectors and galleries that are very, very coveted, and certain galleries that do have a massive collector base. Art ultimately, and I'm discovering this after I'm kind of out. Art is so much more about marketing than I ever realized, and telling your story and telling like and believing your story, or like living your story. I think that the thing that I didn't understand, and why I kind of had moderate success, is that I wasn't the best self promoter, and I wasn't the best at like I didn't realize that this story is king in everything, and that if you don't tell a good story about the work you're making, you can't market it. And so no matter how good of a gallery you're working with, they can't market it. So art becomes so much more about writing the deeper you get into it, than it does become about making the work. So you need to be able to communicate the thing that makes your work important. And if you can't do that, you either need to find somebody who can, or you will always sort of sit on the fringe of success. You might have a couple successful pieces, but if people can't like lock on to okay, here's a good woodworker thing.
That's the episode. It's been great. It's been
Michael,
real. We're gonna shut it down right there.
Michael, I am literally hanging on your every word. Continue.
So there's this woodworker trend. If you go on TikTok or something like that, and it's celebrities talking about the wood that was chosen for the piece of furniture.
Man.
So
oh my god, like an Architectural Digest?
Yeah. This tiny dining table was made from sunken beams that were pulled up, dredged up by the Titanic. And it was reassembled by a woodworker with one arm who nailed it together with his feet. This is the stuff that sells.
It's true. I remember reading an article in a magazine. I don't remember what magazine it was, but the guy who had the feature done on him was a TV star of some kind. I had no idea who he was. He was on some show. And they made a big deal about how like he's not just an actor. He's also a woodworker. And his work, I mean, he could be a very nice guy. I don't want to shit on him, but his work was exceptionally mediocre. But the whole article was just him being like, well, you see, this Claro walnut slab was from this field in this southern region of California, and this is why. And I'm like, yeah, it's nice because you spent $20,000 on that fucking slab. That's why it's a nice fucking table, dog. Mm-hmm. But it's all just waxing poetic about the material, where it's from, painting a pretty picture so that a client gets seduced by the story.
It's good marketing. I mean, ultimately, if you want to survive in any market, you've got to be able to sell stuff, right? Like, or if you want to survive making things, you have to sell things. And I'm learning a lot more about that. I mean, well, I guess you don't have to, because you could just make YouTube videos.
Okay, all right. Well, pause before we get there. Did you find success selling objects? Did you learn how to tell the story? And whether successful or not, what were the factors that led up to you deciding to start a YouTube channel?
So I never made enough money making sculptures to sustain myself ever. And I had some pretty big galleries, in Seattle and San Francisco that I was showing in, and starting to get notoriety. And some of my pieces, like I'm still every once in a while, one will go off to a gallery or a museum. I just showed in Fuller Craft in Boston, or outside of Boston, and that's all to like, but it just never paid like that. It just never. There was no way to make it sustainable. So I was always working a day job, which was moving artwork. So I was hanging out in museums with other artists. You know, I was building art for artists in the shop. So one thing that people don't know is if you work in a museum, there's a position called a preparator, and you'll physically build the artwork that the artist has been brought in to show, or you'll build the display for the artwork. Or, I mean, I physically built some people's art. And was the reason why it stood up at all, because these were conceptual artists who had come out of the schools that Paul is talking about, and they didn't know how to make things, but they had a really good collector base, a lot of people, a lot of energy behind them, and a lot of marketing behind them. So they would come up with the concept, and you would do everything in your power to make sure it was successful.
This is why people hate the art world, Mike.
I don't hate the art world, for the record, but what I struggled with was the financial side of the artwork doesn't make a lot of sense unless you're really high up or you have somebody anchoring you. So like, imagine this, Eric, you build 10 pieces of furniture on spec, and you deliver them to a space that's going to sell them, and you're going to get half the profits of that.
Sure.
And you're going to show it for 1 month. And after that, they get returned to you, and you spend a whole year building all of that work to gamble on 1 month of promotion that is technically in the hands of the gallery, but your year depends on it. So you need to just everything you got, everybody you got to talk to about and sell it. Like the anxiety of doing that over and over and over again.
And correct me if this is different in the art world versus in the furniture world, but when I show a piece in a gallery, even if that client doesn't buy that piece at that gallery, if they get my contact information from the gallery is still commissioned for whatever that client pays me.
Yep.
So even if they don't buy the thing that the gallery's showing, guess what? I'm still out 40 to 60%.
Sometimes it's even worse. And these are pretty awful deals, but sometimes they have regional ownership of your work. So if they sell any piece of yours regionally, or you sell your piece regionally. So if I had a regional gallery in Seattle, I would have to pay that gallery a percentage, even if they were not involved in the sale.
It's a fucking scam.
That sounds so shitty.
Now it sounds like I really hate galleries. But it's not really that simple. It's not that cut and dry. They have a limited client base. They have to pay a lot, usually, to have prime real estate.
Yeah.
And they do front you the ability to show your work for a month, and they put their promotional weight behind you. Like, it's not as like, I'm really close friends with gallery owners here in Seattle, and they're some of my favorite people. The system is just really, it's hard for both the gallery owner and the artist, and it doesn't work great. And enter Instagram.
I was about to do the exact same shift from the gallery to social media as a marketing platform. So what year is this that you get into social media, and what's your thinking behind it when you do?
I was on Instagram pretty early, but I didn't really actually promote my work on it until like, I want to say 2014, 2015.
That's still pretty early.
Which account did you start first? Was it the sculpture
I started
one, or
a personal account that is now locked.
Okay.
Or you have to, know me to get invited.
OnlyFans, I believe it's called.
Yes, it's OnlyFans. But I separated out my art account, which I still have a separate art account, and the Almfab account, which started when I started it as a furniture company, or a woodworker for hire company. So yeah, that was probably, I don't know, 2015 or 2016 or so.
And from the beginning, from the studio artist perspective, from the marketing perspective, you had a separate account, but you were still using that as a promotional tool to at least have a online portfolio.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it became really apparent quickly when I'd be at dinner parties and people would not want to look at my website. They'd be like, "What's your Instagram?" I think that's the way it is now too. Like, I mean,
100%.
that hadn't stopped. And once you see that shift, I think some of the best insights I get is like family dinners or meeting new people, like any like weddings and stuff, when people sit down and they're like, how to find you or how they look you up. Like I watch that like a hawk. Like, how are you finding my channel? How are you, like one thing that I heard at a wedding party somewhat recently was like, someone was talking about their DIY stuff in their house. And they were saying, I searched TikTok for like how to do plumbing. And I'm like, whoa, that used to always be YouTube. Always YouTube.
Yeah.
And now people are starting to say, oh, no, I get all my info on TikTok.
Yeah,
That's
Gen Z and Gen Alpha, there have been a lot of studies that show that they search via TikTok over Google, like so
That's
much
terrifying.
more.
Mary,
and it is
that's
terrifying
terrifying.
because it's not accurate, or it's often not accurate, but it is what they're used to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll get old and irrelevant at some point. It sounds like that's the transition.
I mean, the nice thing is our audience is kind of aging with us, right?
Yeah. Okay, so you get on Instagram, you start doing your thing there, you open Almfab as a furniture manufacturing, as a furniture for hire. What's the situation?
So I started Almfab because I sort of accidentally quit my job. I was working at a frame shop, and it wasn't the employer, but it was someone that they hired to manage me, and we did not get along very well. Mostly I walked in one day and she was moving my tools to a different area of the shop without consulting me first.
Can't do
and
that.
I had a very important client install that morning, and none of my tools were where they were. And she blamed it on me that I was late to this client's thing. And I just was like, I quit. I'm not doing this. And
that doesn't sound accidental, Michael. That sounds like you just quit, man.
It was building. You have those moments where it's like it builds so much inside.
Sure, your confidence got the best of you. I get it.
I can't. Yeah, starting to see a trend here.
That's such a satisfying. I wish I've had that moment of just like pure rage quitting.
Yeah, you
I
want
can't do it anymore.
Fuck you, you're cool.
Yeah.
So, Michael, what was was there a moment when you're like, fuck this, I'm going to try something new, I'm going to pivot? Was there a singular moment, or was it very gradual? Like, I mean, was it attrition? No, like when you were thinking like, enough of the studio and galleries, I've tried and I've tried and I've tried. Like, was this a gradual attrition of your will to do that? Or was it like a moment in time that you're like, no more, there's a better way?
I still had a lot of romance for it all the way up until making YouTube videos. I think what ended up happening is that, and I still love it. I still love an art show. I love hanging out with the artists at an art show. There's something really cool about building a show together and having people come see your work in a really engaging, personal way, and going to see other friends' work and seeing how they progress as an artist. Like, still love it. I still go to art shows. I still every once in a while do an art show. But I think as the YouTube started to grow, I was like, I'm not sure I need this. I don't need this stress on me to make this work. And I definitely don't need the stress of promoting myself to galleries. That was really hard for me in general.
So you were doing all of that in the early days of building the YouTube?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
My last solo show was 2019. And I painted every single mammal in Washington State in watercolor.
Wow, that's so cool.
I did 141 paintings for an art show, and I was doing that while doing YouTube. I was doing like 6 things at once.
And what's your cadence on YouTube at this point? Is this like when that was happening in 2019? Are you doing a video a week? Are you doing a video a month? What?
I was probably doing more than I am now. I was probably doing 2 videos a month. But I may have I probably took a break for the Mammals of Washington.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the transition to YouTube sounds like it was a slow build, and at some point you kind of reached critical mass and you thought, either I don't need this other stress, or I'm going to take a risk and put all my eggs in this basket. What was that moment like? What was that decision?
It was not a clear decision. Like when people ask, like a lot of times people are like, I quit my day job and went to YouTube on this day, and it was awesome. But I didn't really do that. I was just like gradually weeding out clients because I've never had a proper job. So I don't really, I didn't have to all my jobs are part-time, and I kind of just eased into YouTube being full-time. So it was a gradual change, and COVID kind of pushed me over the edge.
Oh, interesting.
Because my clients kind of disappeared, or they were afraid to have a carpenter in their house, and and so I was just like, well, I mean, everybody's watching YouTube right now. So
Sure.
I poured everything into that at that moment. 2020, 2021, I was working so much, just late into the night, every night, making videos, making cool projects, and I almost burned myself out.
Michael, it sounds like you've been working hard for a long, long time.
I don't know.
He's got a degree in sculpture. There's no not working hard, man.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's no easy road there.
Mary, go
When
ahead.
did you I was just curious, when did you do the pattern plywood in that time period?
2018, 2019, something like that.
Oh, so it's like pretty at the beginning.
It was pretty early on. Yeah. It was the Rockler challenge, the Rockler one sheet of plywood challenge, that I know a bunch of other YouTubers kind of launched their channels then. I know Ben Paik, Wobie Design launched his channel during that. There's a few others. It was super fun.
Wow. All right. So now we've gone through the pivot. We're there. We've gone through the career.
We're
change.
at the pivot. Yeah.
And just as a point of interest,
I would argue that it's a lot of pivots. It's multiple pivots.
Sounds right. And I think that's an important distinction too, for people who are in that headspace right now.
So I was curious before this episode. I was thinking about career paths, and a couple different questions came up, and we're going to answer both. So first of all, I want to hear from Mary and Eric about how many career pivots have you had, and myself. But also, I want to start with a piece of data. I looked at a study by Indeed.com, which is a major job hunting service, right? Out of all the people that switched jobs in a 2-year span, out of all of them, how many do you think actually changed careers, like fundamentally pivoted? What percent do you think?
15%.
Michael?
I was going to say 10.
Mary?
I was going to say like 25.
Apparently, it's 64%.
What?
Whoa.
I was going to say it's high. It's definitely high.
What?
I was stunned.
64% of people are just like, fuck banking. I'm going to go into content now?
I guess. I don't know. How's that even?
Because people get burnt out by the time they reach 30, 40. If they've been doing the same thing for so long, they're just gonna be like, I mean, I know this. What should I do next? Like, you're not as afraid to pivot at that point because you have had experience.
Mary, have you pivoted?
Yeah.
Tell us. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, I mean, most people know that I was an architect for a while, and then so I went to undergrad for architecture, and even in undergrad, I was like, I don't love this, but I should probably work in the field for a bit just to gain experience, and also I'm really broke. So So worked as an architect for 4 or 5 years. Was considering going into industrial design. Actually, applied to programs and got into them. But I was like, wait, how do I can't afford this. So worked a little bit more and then applied for grad school because I was looking at the aspects of my job that I liked in architecture, which was a lot of like 3D stuff, more interface design, a lot of like the digital design part. I was like, okay, I'm going to apply for this grad program that is a very generic master's in design, which is intentionally vague because a lot of people go in different paths for it and people come from different backgrounds as well. So a lot of folks ended up in the field that I'm in, which is UX design, because we're tired of being poor. So it's like, all right, well, tech makes money. That's great. It's like at that point, it's not anymore. At that point, it was guaranteed that it would make you a good amount of money if you went to this program, this grad program at school. So yeah, so I guess I've career pivoted once, mostly.
One big pivot from architecture to UX design.
Mm-hmm.
Eric?
I guess I feel more in line with Michael in that it's been 100 small pivots. You know, it's if you zoom out far enough, it's a semicircle, or maybe it's a full circle. But like, you know, I fell in love. Like, I grew up in the trades. I was building all my life. I fell in love with the idea of becoming a furniture maker at 19 or 20. And I've done a million things in between my beginning of my career in the trades and what I'm doing now. You know, I've been a gymnastics coach. I've been a janitor. I've been a cabinet maker.
Netflix star.
I've been on Netflix.
A teacher, a shop teacher.
I've been a shop teacher. Like, I've been everything. Yeah. And it's all kind of been in the service of the dream, you know? And so kind of pivoting, but also like doing YouTube. And this is kind of a thing maybe we'll still get into, Michael, with you, of the pivot to make content is maybe the biggest pivot of my career. And I don't know what the right way to phrase it is. The consideration that artists, furniture makers, people who make things are viewed and considered one way, and people who make content are viewed and considered another way. That's a very real, that's a like, it's a reputational consideration, you know?
Well, Eric,
so maybe that's been the biggest.
Eric, let's be more explicit about that.
Are you just trying to avoid answering the question yourself, or?
Oh no! I just thought you put up such a great like.
Okay, all right, we can dive in. We'll come back to you.
I'll answer the question briefly. Okay. I've never pivoted. I haven't had any. For 32 years, I've pursued biology, and I still love it. So it's sort of an uninteresting answer, and I think it's probably a rare answer. But I knew what I wanted. Answer. I knew what I wanted.
And the 40% apparently. That doesn't pay.
That's true. That's not a small chunk of people.
Yeah. Well, that was in a 2-year period. Most people, that was in a 2-year period.
Do you know what years?
22 to 24.
Do you know what the age bracket was?
I do not. But anyway, I think there's a small group of people who know what they want early, and it turns out that it's a good fit when they get there. You know, there's no gotchas. Like Michael, you had a few like moments where you're like, oh shit, this isn't quite what I was expecting, whether it was the Chihuly chapter or you know, what it's like living in galleries. But science was what I signed up for. It was as great as I thought it was going to be. I mean, sure, there were sketchy moments where like there's no protection. Like, you know, either shut the fuck up and do what I tell you, or you don't get a PhD. There's no protections for you over grad school. You either do it or you don't, or you get kicked out. So you shut the fuck up and you do it. It's that simple if you want the degree. And so, yeah, it gets a little thin at times. Sure, you're living thin, but you're young. You can handle it. But by and large, what I thought it was going to be was exactly what it was, and maybe sometimes better. So I haven't had a reason to pivot, and my love for it never waned. It was always consistent. But
well, and I think importantly, and we'll come back to the question. I can see you getting antsy about that. But importantly, I think your experience in science, at least for the last 15 or so years, has been that it allows you enough space to develop a second love, which is really important.
I mean, that was unexpected. But the
Yeah.
first thing, that was an unexpected second thing. But the first thing is that doing science every day is as interesting and fun, and it never becomes boring or banal. Like, it is as good as it was back in grad school, and I love it every day, and I still love it every day. I haven't even come close to burning out on it.
That's
Which
really
I don't know.
lucky. Most people don't have that experience.
I don't know if that's science, or I don't know if that's me, or if it's a little bit of both of us. I'm not sure, but I feel very lucky. Yeah, and I love it. So I'll continue doing that as long as I can. But Eric, back to your really interesting point. You were calling out a dichotomy between a perception of a serious, and I'll use that word, that serious artist, Michael, and I'm sure you know what I'm kind of referring to, and the YouTube woodworker. And Michael, I recall in your episode of your documentary episode with Justin Maybe, you said something along the lines of, there's a stigma associated with YouTube woodworkers. And so I think, Eric, that's what you were calling out, is the serious artist, the school, right? Versus the stigma of the YouTube woodworker. Let's speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, in short, I think I had a similar, not necessarily a similar bias. I think I knew enough people who made content to know that they were also really capable and talented and hardworking woodworkers, artists in different media, etc. But early on, I think certainly, Michael, when you started, and even still when I started, whatever it was, 2.5, 3 years ago, there was this idea that if you make your content, or if you make your living from content, that you're not serious, you're not successful, you're not capable of making your living as an artist or a furniture maker. And there's definitely an association. Like, I still get, Larissa will tell me, oh, I met X person and I mentioned that you and I share a shop, and they're like, oh, the guy from YouTube. It's like, well, yeah, like, I'm on YouTube, but I also have a portfolio of 15 years before that where I was making professional work. And I've exhibited and showed in galleries around the country, but I'm known as the YouTube guy, in our circles. And that's a little irritating to me. I'm not going to lie, even still. Michael, what was your experience with that in the art world? Because I feel like you guys are maybe even snootier than the furniture world.
Michael, what's the stigma?
What's the stigma? Well, I think I internalized it a lot, actually. I think I felt that I was stepping away from like the career path that I had set out, and that I was not achieving my goals by going to YouTube a little bit. I was embarrassed to call myself a YouTuber for a really long time. I would not bring it up. I would be like, I'm a furniture maker, I'm a sculptor. And then it started getting to...
Why is that embarrassing?
I don't know. I mean, now it's a point of pride. I'm so proud of what I've accomplished. And it's crazy, but I had this moment where I was like, well, I always, if anyone said like, oh, you're making your little YouTube videos, like,
it's always little YouTube videos. Why is that?
That would set me
It's
off.
Always the adjective that they use.
Oh, that's so cute. You're making your little YouTube videos. Yeah. Oh, that's adorable.
But then they would go watch them, and then they would be like, oh, they're actually good. And I'm like, I mean, there's a lot of garbage out there. There's a lot of bad artists out there. There's a lot of, well, I shouldn't say bad, but there's people on every...
There are bad artists out there. We can acknowledge it.
I wish you could see Mary's face. For those of you with a video feed,
I don't want to like, because I know there's a lot here. I know that like artist is a term that some people are really scared to call themselves. Like historically, people are like, hold that term really high. I don't necessarily hold it as high as like the snootiest artist. I think that it's totally a shared term. Stay away from sculptor, but you can. No, but I'm getting off. I think the YouTube thing for a little while did make me feel like I was influencer, like I was like a, you know, like I was going after like money grabbing or whatever, however people like think of what we do. But knowing the people that I know in the YouTube world, I'm like, I should wear this with pride, because the hardest working people I know are these YouTubers, and the coolest people that I know are these YouTubers, the people doing the most interesting stuff. Or like this maker community that we have built, it's so strong and so cool. And the weird thing that connects us together, that's not, it's not that we do the same thing. It's that we're all kind of creatively developing this medium together. And I find it I'm more passionate about this than I think I ever was about making my art work.
Interesting.
What?
Yeah.
Is that individually driven? Is that community driven? What is that?
It's just so rich. Like, it's so rich.
What's so rich?
Well, yeah, what is it that interests you the most? I'm like curious which part of the
We're just asking all the questions simultaneously now.
Well, there's so many cool people. Like, we just had that meetup, which was insane, in Philly with you guys, which is so fun. And like people are like, oh, you're going on a work trip. I'm like, no, I'm going to hang out with my friends, and we're like talking shop in the best possible way. And like, you know, so much builds from that. I just find it so collaborative, and the challenge of every month to put together the story of what I'm doing in the shop, and to build on my experiences and be able to share that with people, of like, you know, all these little things that would happen in the shop that I could tell people with, and they're like, okay, yeah, whatever. But now I've found a community of people that will actually like watch it, enjoy it, and build on it. There's like, I do read a lot of comments, and it educates me more to be better at the job that I'm doing in a really collaborative way that I have not experienced. And art felt really lonely. Art felt really, really lonely.
That is such a gracious take on the community aspect of your videos, to read comments and take that, I'm dead ass serious right now. Like, to read those comments and think, there is now, of course, I know, you know, that there's always going to be assholes out there.
Oh, there's loads of them. Yeah.
But to read them and go, oh, I could have done this better, and not put your defenses up and go like, well, it's my fucking YouTube channel, I can do whatever I want.
There's a thing in art school called the critique process. It is more brutal than YouTube comments. And
that's true.
I have cried at critiques. I have made people cry at critiques, and that is something that that's a piece of armor that I carry with me from art school, and it's honestly, you come out the other side better and stronger and more interesting when you don't take those as criticisms of you, but take them as criticisms of your work, and look at the work as something separate from you, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, you are not your work.
No. You can take it really personally. It's very easy to, and I'm not invulnerable to this, but it's like,
Eric.
What?
Eric, how's your relationship with the comments
is that
these
different?
days?
I will be honest, I will occasionally dip in and try to answer some comments or respond to some things. But for the last couple of months, I'm just in this headspace of I don't have the bandwidth to do it. You know, I don't have the bandwidth to engage. I deeply appreciate that people are watching the videos and leaving comments, and I think the 80 to 90% are overwhelmingly positive. And then there's the, 5 to 10% that are like, hey man, that's a video. Here's a comment because, I appreciate what you're doing. And then the 5% have just the last couple of months just stuck in my craw. And I'm like, yeah, there's no way for me to engage with that in a healthy way. So I'm just going to dip out for a while.
So you don't have the same approach of taking the criticism, do you think?
I think it's really hard for me to interpret proper criticism via text, via written comment. Whereas, like, if we were having a conversation, if Michael says something, if Mary says something, if Paul says something, and it hits me the wrong way, number one, at least like we have a level of trust. You guys are my friends. We can converse about it. Number two, so I know it's coming from the right spot. Number two, if it hits me the wrong way, we can converse and I can tease it out. You know, it's like, oh, well, what are you trying to get out there? And then I can get to the helpful criticism. Whereas like the internet, there's no way to do that. There's no way to converse on it, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like having a filter is probably like the ability to parse through comments or critiques that you think are actually helpful versus ones that you acknowledge are not going to be helpful to your work and your progress as an artist. Having that filter is important, of like knowing when to ignore someone versus taking it in.
Oh, sure. No, I can ignore people. I think I'm very good at ignoring people. I think what I'm getting at is at this moment in my journey, I feel maybe slightly overexposed. Like there's just too much of me on the internet in people's lives.
Interesting, Eric.
And I don't know that I can develop good ideas when I have that feeling.
Oh,
It's
that's
true. I would
interesting.
like to see less of you.
Motherfucker, you've been on 2 episodes in the last month, and now you're out here like, I don't even want to be friends anymore.
Zing! Oh, Mary. Oh, Eric, I have some Band-Aids. I'll bring them over.
Anyway.
So, Michael, I feel as though the way you're approaching YouTube is not that common in that you've paid such an enormous price for such a long time in the more formal art world that probably gives you a bit of a different take or a different appreciation or a different approach to how you run your YouTube, where your headspace is for making things, the enjoyment, like, because you have something to compare it to from your previous life. And you're like, that sucked. This is amazing. Like, this is great. Not that YouTube doesn't have its sucky moments and video creation, but I do feel like your path has changed how you view it compared to the way I see other people who just start on YouTube fresh.
Interesting. Well, I mean, my life didn't suck before. I did really enjoy those.
No, not
those
that
10
it sucked.
years.
I wasn't implying your life sucked.
You were really falling apart at the fucking
That's
seams
it.
before
No,
YouTube,
but
Michael.
But you know, artistically, you know,
Yeah, no, it was hard. It's hard work. It's all hard work. I mean,
Yeah,
woodworking's
that's for
hard,
sure.
right, Eric? It's like
True statement.
that's. I'm enjoying that channel, by the way. I really
Thanks,
enjoy
buddy.
it.
Shout out to Larissa.
Eric, talk about it. We've never talked about it.
We've never talked about the channel.
No.
Well, it's a new channel with Larissa, my shopmate, and I, where we are making objects, and sometimes they're in competition, sometimes they will be in collaboration. And the whole thing is just us kind of not really knowing what we're doing, and hence the name, Woodworking is Hard.
It's so good. I'm very excited for episode 3. I just
Thanks, buddy.
really enjoy
Appreciate
it.
that.
I don't remember what question I was answering, Paul. But
Well, it was about how your background.
How your life was really awful before.
yeah, how my life sucked. And,
I did not say any of that.
hold myself out.
I did not say any of that. But we did spend 45 minutes talking how you weren't realizing your goals
YouTube
the more
saved my
traditional
life.
way.
I mean, yeah, I think I view YouTube maybe a little differently than most. But I mean, that's just everyone brings their own life experience to this platform. And the beauty of that platform is that you have long storytelling, long form stuff, and you can build it however you want. Like, and I've been very, I've built the YouTube channel that I want to watch, that I want to be a part of. And, you know, I've had some moments, like some dark moments, like what Eric's talking about, where I was like, you know, what do they want? What does my audience want? And especially coming off of the house remodel series, which was a whole left turn that debatably the channel, some people really loved it, but my audience was telling me you need to go back to making artwork. And I think I was actually like kind of perceptive. Like, I think that was right. And I think I was feeling it too, where I was like, I need this creative outlet to be a creative outlet and to not appeal to what others expect me to do, because I think the unexpected is what has made my channel strong. And these artistic wild hairs, as I call them, like I follow those wild hairs constantly. And that's why I like making YouTube videos, is because I get the chance to just go down a path, because I'm obsessed with learning new techniques and new forms and just new ways to build stuff. So if I'm doing that, I'm in my sweet spot and I'm having a blast. And as long as I've got an audience that supports me doing that, I'm like in the best place I could possibly be.
So it's funny you answered that, because that actually bears on my next and probably the last question. We're at an hour and 15. My last question was, what does success mean to you now and looking forward? How do you define that for yourself? And have you been scratching at it already?
That's a big question. It's a wild one, because I do think that in terms of my YouTube goals, like when I started the channel, I'm like light years beyond what I expected out of it. And in terms of like my access to tools and equipment, which has really like been a drive for my adult life, is just like making sure that I have the means to make the things that I want to make. We're kind of there. So I'm in this kind of sweet spot right now that is kind of magical. Like, I'm really enjoying it and I want to stay in it. And I can't believe that people are letting me stay in it. Like, it's like a really playful space to make things. And, like, I don't know. I'm really, I can't complain. I have goals of like, I'd like to teach more. I would like to, I would like to, build more complex work. I'm always driving towards like bettering my skills as a woodworker. And I'm in this like renaissance of like, I'm like just starting hand tools. I'm kind of just starting solid wood furniture. Like, I did plywood furniture for the longest time. So like, I'm looking at Mary and Eric, and like, you guys know the joy of solid wood furniture. I'm kind of just realizing how awesome it is. And I'm reading so much right now. So like, I don't know, like if you want to talk about like, what was the phrasing of the question? Like
Well, I was sort of asking, what does success look like? How do you define that? What does it look like to you now?
I mean, I don't know if I'm striving for like a defined success so much as I'm striving for a feeling of like
do you feel successful?
Enjoyment. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, I've done what I've been trying to do. It's just a weird thing to say out loud.
It doesn't mean you're arrogant. Like, do you feel like you are doing the thing you set out to do?
Absolutely.
When you got into art school and you said, I want to make shit with my hands for a living. Are you doing that? Do you feel like you're doing that well? Can you pay your bills?
Yes, and yes. Which
sounds pretty good.
It's just insane. It's absolutely insane. Like, you think about that. My ex-girlfriend's dad, who's just like, this is like, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I'm gonna sculpt. I mean, I'm still a sculptor. Like, I still, in my heart, that's what I'm doing, and I'm getting as much joy out of making furniture as I ever did out of sculpture. And I think that's like following that drive of like, I want to do this. I've been successful there.
You're going to make a lot of our listeners who are right on the fringe of quitting their job and changing careers. They're gonna, with that fucking message at the end. Yeah. They're going to pivot. Feel it in my bones.
It's so fun. I mean, making stuff, it's just a drug, right?
All right. Well, with that, Michael, thank you so much. I was like,
That was so good.
yeah,
That was
I
good.
Thanks, guys. It was fun.
What a story you have. I
Yeah.
was so in it. Like I could feel like you felt at certain times, like it's just a hint of what you were feeling. And it really had me there. And I was kind of like, oh my God, what happened next? Thank you so much.
I could tell you were highly engaged with the story because you didn't say much for like 45
true.
minutes. You were just letting them ride.
I mean, what's
You're
to
just letting
say?
them
Like,
cook, man.
yeah, because all of us want to hear like what happened next. What happened next?
Michael, he's like,
yeah.
you're a natural storyteller.
Oh, thanks.
So, Michael,
it was a great
thank
episode.
you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
buddy.
thank you for
Appreciate it.
sharing with everyone, like what it took for you to like try the thing, realize maybe there's a better way to do the thing, and to have the guts to pivot. And it sounds like it wasn't like kind of a singular moment pivot, but more of a gradual kind of over time, multiple pivots. Like Eric, you were saying you've done 100 pivots, and it seems like these are, you can have a moment where you're like, it's all changing on this moment. Like when you become a parent, that's a singular moment pivot that never, right? As Michael, as you know, being a new parent.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But then there's this idea of like slowly testing the water, see how it feels, and pivoting over time. So for all the listeners, who are going to start YouTube channels after this episode, think about your own life. What are the signs that you should or should not pivot? Some do, some don't, like myself. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. The secret question.
Oh God.
Are we saving it for the after show now?
We're saving it for the after show. How to listen to the after show? All you have to do is subscribe to our Patreon. It's in the link in the bio. You can see the video feed. You can see all the funny faces that Mary makes when we're talking.
It's usually where everyone makes fun of me, honestly.
Yeah, as they should.
All you have to do is become a patron, and you can see the video feed. And so the question I'm going to leave you with for the after show, and we're going to talk about this, and I had this as a secret question. Michael and Mary have not heard this. Unfortunately, I told it to Eric at one point. What relationship do you have with your inner critic? And would you talk to other people the way you talk to yourself?
I'm so excited for these two to answer this question.
You already know my goddamn answer.
I know, that's why I'm excited.
And with that, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.